place is the day I'll pack up and I'll do something else. Baking is interesting. I think baking, that's another story. So if you wanted to go, I want to talk secondly about getting into drama school. I'm assuming that you have the passion and the fire. I'm assuming that you have what I got when I was at secondary school and brought into my training. I'm assuming that you have that. If you haven't got that, and the motor hasn't quite caught, and the engine isn't quite on fire, you need to stop and interrogate and figure out, how do you get to the point where you're prepared to take that ultimate step or that ultimate risk? Where does that come from? And how do you get yourself ready for that? I want to assume that you have the fire in your belly. I want to assume that making theatre, telling stories, weaving magic, being one of these crazy storyteller magicians who put a shape on the world, I want to assume that that's what you want to do, and you've decided that in the context of what I'm going to say now, you need to train. You decide that you're going to train. You've got to get into this drama school or the Lear or DIT or RADA or Juilliard or NYU. You've got to get in somewhere. And because there's more and more people, more and more of the time, trying to get into these places, the competition is higher by nature. That's the way it is. If you're not ready and prepared to cross that threshold and walk in that door and be on fire, then there's a terrible danger that you will be regarded as, literally the moment you walk in that door, people are making decisions about you. Oh, slouch, oh, apology, oh, my bus, You've got to walk in that door with your, does this mean anything to you, this gesture here? This one here. Does this, when I'm talking about fire and energy and belly and spark, I'm talking about here, I'm not talking about up here. Can you relate to that?
Yeah.
Can you relate to that? Yeah. And it's kind of pretty central to the whole business of putting yourself out there. It's not an intellectual craft. It's a craft about emotion and feeling and depth. And that all comes from lower down. It doesn't come from higher up, it comes from lower down. So I want to assume that you're out there and you're about to cross that threshold. You've got to wear neutral clothes. You don't want to come in wearing spangles and bangles and jingles and jangles if you're a man, or if whatever. You don't want to wear stuff that's going to distract. You need to give the people who are auditioning you, whether it's me or whether it's the Abbey or whether it's the Gate, you need to give those people an opportunity to see what you have to offer. So you've got to look alive. You've got to look warm and welcoming and friendly. There's nothing worse than being over made up, because, where is the person in there? Or you need to look alive and friendly and welcoming so that when you cross that threshold, the game is on. Now, to get the game on, you need to make sure, if you've been asked to make a statement about why you want to do this, you've got to make sure that the statement that you write is essentially, it's a statement of what you stand for, what you believe in, and what you need to do. It's about, I want to be an actor because, do I want to be an actor? No, I need to be an actor because, and then you need to, if you like, go to the next question. If I need to be an actor, why do I need to be an actor? I need to be an actor because that's when I'm happiest. Average? I need to be an actor because that's when I'm happiest. Why is that when you're happiest? Because I'm playing other people. Oh, right, okay, so you like playing other people. Let's get to the heart of this thing. Why do you need to do it? I need to do it because the world that we're in is in enough trouble. We need to get people who are prepared to tell the stories about the society we live in, to reflect the world that we're living in, to engage in a dialogue or a conversation through film, radio or television, so that an audience can be inspired or challenged or made to cry or made to sing or laugh. Being an actor is not a silent craft. Being an actor is probably as significant to a society as being a psychiatrist, or being a motor mechanic, or being people who make things happen, people who challenge people. If you don't take acting that seriously, then there's a danger that you want to do it for surface reasons. I want to be a star. Grant? You want to be a star. I guarantee you won't be a star until you figure out the hard graft at first. Stardom is fine. I am over the moon that Charlie Murphy has the lead in the Abbey. starting rehearsals yesterday. I'm over the moon that Colin O'Donoghue has just done the movie with Anthony Hopkins and has just signed this big TV series in Ireland. I'm over the moon about Carl Shields gone to Washington DC this week to do the Druid show. There's a lot of stuff that I'm over the moon about and passionate about and all the rest of it. But it's about hard graft. It doesn't just come out of the sky. It does for some. It just happens. You know, there's plenty of examples. There's plenty of examples. I was at an awards dinner a couple of years ago, and this woman, very well-known woman, comes up to me and says, she won an award, Best Actress on some film, and she said, and I didn't let her into this school. I mean, I didn't let her in. And she took great pride in coming up to me and kind of going, you know. So I was, yeah, humbled, I think is the word we use. Yeah, no, it was, I mean, it brings up, the whole stardom issue is are you going into this for ego? Are you going into this for reasons other than the actual requirements to negotiate the craft and deal with that and push it out from there? I'm assuming that the fire is in your belly. I'm assuming that you've written a statement which very clearly outlines and interrogates why you want to be an actor. And I'm assuming that if you were to read that and somebody was to ask you 25 or 30 questions about that statement that you've written, that somebody, your friends, would be able to ask those questions and you'd be able to answer them and give answers that are intelligent answers, as opposed to surface, as opposed to giddy, as opposed to kind of non-existent answers. If you're prepared to write a statement as to why you want to act or what you stand for, then be prepared for that document to be interrogated. In other words, be prepared to answer questions about that. And you can do that in the privacy of your own home, but make sure that when you cross that threshold, you've got that statement in your soul and in your bloodstream, so you're ready to roll from there. You've been asked to do two contrasting pieces. Some people get this wrong, and I mean wrong as in, I will do a Shakespearean piece, average, and my contrasting piece is a modern piece. But you're standing in the same place for both. You're standing for both. Shakespeare, Shakespeare, Shakespeare. My second piece, modern, modern, modern. I'm seeing no physical alteration. I'm seeing no major energy shift. I'm seeing somebody who looks similar in both. The purpose of a contrasting piece is to see somebody standing there, you know. We'll talk about Shakespeare in a minute, but to see somebody doing one piece that has got all this wild and broad and strong and fiery energy over here, and the next piece is in a different part of the room, and the next piece is if one piece is standing and it's loud, the next piece can be sitting and quiet. You know, don't do Shakespeare if you can't do Shakespeare well. You know, this school doesn't, and many others don't demand that you do a Shakespeare piece. If you're required to do a Shakespeare piece, by Christ, you better nail it. You better study iambic pentameter. You better study the rhythm of the language. You better know who's saying what and why they're saying it. So that when you come to embody that character, the people who are watching you go, whoa, that's what I want. You've nailed it there. As opposed to what we see a lot, whether it's here or I got to Conal Morrison today, who's directing Conal Morrison, and biggest issue he's having is that people aren't as ready as they might be. That's it. Aren't as ready as they might be. If you're doing Shakespeare, make sure you've nailed it. If you're doing a contrasting piece, make sure that it is a contrast. Contrast in volume, contrast in texture, contrast in character. Don't pick a piece. I mean, don't pick a piece. I wouldn't pick a piece for a 20-year-old because I ain't 20. You know, in the same way as I wouldn't pick a piece for an 80-year-old because I'm not 80. But pick a piece that fits and suits, that you own. It's like a toy, owning that character, owning it, like really, really own it, so that there's no doubt about it. Darren Healy, actor, was in here a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about the craft. I was expecting to get great wisdom out of Darren about character and invention and how you create a character. He said there's no trick to it at all. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, it's about learning your lines, and learn them and learn them and learn them. And when you have them learned, that's when you really start to learn them. And some of us are bad at learning lines. And if you're bad at it, learn the technique to be better at it. There's only one way you can learn the lines, and that is to do them 100 times. And if you think 100 times will get you there, you're only halfway there, because you've got to go the other 100 times. Do them out loud, do them to